Hey cuties, I'm Lanikia and you're watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is Young and the Restless edition. All right, guys, let's jump right into this. We see today is Monday, October the 10th, 2022. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was about a 6, 6.5. It was solid. But we see Diane and Phyllis. And so they're just talking about how disgusting it was for Tucker to show up. Of course, Phyllis knows that Diane has a connection to Tucker, but she's not showing her hand. And Diane is just playing the part of, I can't believe Tucker showed up, how horrible of him. And they then talk about, him trying to give the Bentley to Kyle and Summer. And Diane's just like, just so outrageous. He just has no shame. And Phyllis says, well, maybe you would like to go riding around in a Bentley. And Diane says, Phyllis, what is that supposed to mean? And Phyllis says, nothing. I was just, thinking that Tucker was a safe subject. We both don't like him. I was just trying to be friendly with you. And Diane says, listen, I have to go. I have something else to do. But um I haven't seen Tucker and she doesn't have any feelings or cares about him. And Phyllis is just talking to herself and she's like, liar, you're just a liar. You're just a liar. There's a connection between you and Tucker and I'm going to fill it out. And I say, Phyllis, please stop talking to yourself in public before you get in trouble. So then Jack and Ashley come and Ashley comes home and Jack says, why haven't you returned my call? She said, well, you didn't say it was urgent, so I thought it could wait. And she was like, what is it? And he tells her Tucker McCall is back. And she says, what? I haven't spoken to Tucker in years. And he was like, yeah, he's back. And she was like, why is he here? He wants to see Dominic, Devon. And he says, no. He says his main reason is to connect with you. And she's just curious about that because they both, Ashley says, it is strange that Diane is back and so is Tucker. And Jack doesn't believe believes that's just a coincidence. But even if it's not, he's just more concerned about Ashley. And Ashley is thinking, no, those two should they might have parted ways if they didn't like each other. But I don't believe that that's just the end of it with them. I'm sorry, I just do not. But Jack says, I don't care. Like I told him that you wouldn't want to speak to him, and that's it. And Ashley is just like, you can't speak for me because I do want to know what he wants because I know it's just not a romantic relationship with me. He's up to something, and I want to find out what it is. And Jack was like, oh, okay, Ashley, do what you want to do. You're going to do what you want to do anyways. But I wish you would just let that man be exactly where he is and don't get involved. So then Jack goes to the office and he's very upset, and Phyllis can actually see this. So she said she's trying to update him on some information she sent over, and he said, and he says, just send it over. And she says, is everything okay? You seem upset. And then he tells her about Tucker and about how he wants to see Ashley, and Ashley wants to speak to him. And she's just like, okay, so what, you think Ashley can't hold her on? And he was like, no, I just wish she would leave him alone. Like some people aren't meant to be forgiven. I'm like, but you're forgiving Diane, but I digress. And he's just like, some people are not meant to be forgiven. And I don't know why Ashley wants this relationship with Tucker. So then they move on, and Ashley and Phyllis and Jack continue to speak, and he says, don't you think that some people, you just have to let it go? And she says, no, because I have to believe in forgiveness. Now she's talking about her. Phyllis is talking about she and Jack. She said, I have to believe that there's always forgiveness and someone can be sincerely sorry and they're forgiven. And so Jack just stares at her, and then that's it with them, guys. So then we see Phyllis and Tucker. He joins her when she's having coffee, and he sits down with her, and she just tells him, Victor says, no, he tells her, Victor, I'm sure, told you that I spoke with him. And she said, yes. And he said that you were not sincere in whatever you were saying. And he said, that's horrible of him to say, or that's not right. I was sincere. I want a relationship with Devon and Dominic. That's why I'm here. And she's just like, yeah, okay, you, Diane, all these people are just popping up. And he says, well, I mean, I don't know about Diane, but I know why I'm here. And I come, bearing no ill will towards anyone. I just want to make amends. And so at this point, Diane comes through, right? So he says, Diane, come join us. And so Diane comes over and she says, what, you need me to referee? I'm sure Nikki has it. I'm on Nikki's side if I had to be. And Nikki says, I don't need any help. But she said, it's strange that you two come around the same time. And they're both just like, no, like we haven't spoken to each other in years. And then Diane says, unlike, maybe unlike Tucker, she's done the work and she's really tried to work hard to get back to her family and make amends and, get the closest people in her life to her, forgive her. And Tucker says, it's admirable what you've done. And Nikki says, hey, wait, how do you know, that she's changed and she has these relationships? And so Diane gets nervous, like you could physically tell, like she physically shows her tell that she's nervous about this. But Tucker stays cool and he's like, I mean, I have eyes. I was at the wedding. I said, if Diane still had bad ill, if people still had bad will or ill towards Diane, she would never have been invited to Kyle's wedding, but she was there. So that lets me know that they're getting closer. And he tells Diane, I would love to pick your brain to see what you did, because I'm in a similar situation. And Diane was like, no, I would never help you. I'm like, Diane, you're playing this part too hard. It don't feel natural. You can tell that she's putting on. And he tells them about, we were in similar situations. And she said, no, Diane just faked her death. And this is Nikki. Diane just faked her death. You were actually near death, because he tells them that he had a car accident that almost killed him. But at the end of the day, Diane just tells Tucker, I'm not going to help you. Do whatever you have to do. So she leaves. And then Tucker receives a text from Ashley saying, I heard you were looking for me. I'm here at home. And he says, I have to go. Thanks for the coffee. I said, you going to make Nikki pay? But then we see Ashley and Tucker. He goes over to see her and he's just like, you look good. It's so good to see you. I'm happy you wanted to meet with me. And she said, stop all that. What are you really here for? Because I know it's not just to get close to your son and grandson again. So then we see Nate talks to Victoria and he tells Victoria that he is still looking into everything. And she lets him know that Tucker McCall is there. And he tells her about Audra, he's getting close to her. She's the person that Jill hired, and he's been getting close to her to see what she knows. And she tells him, just keep an eye on her. And she said, also, Tucker McCall is here. And he says, yeah, I know, but Devon didn't say anything. So it leads me to believe that he didn't know he was coming. And she said, just keep an eye on that as well, because with Tucker, that'll be a wild card in this whole thing. So then we see Noah and Audrey speak. They're at Crimson Lights, and she comes in, and once again she tries to belittle Allie by calling her, your friend is, she's adorable. She said something along those lines, and Noah does what you're supposed to do. He shuts that down immediately. He says, look, you're not going to belittle Allie. I'm happy right now. I'm not gonna hold you long on them. He says, I'm happy right now. So when you see me, don't bother me. Like, stay away from me and let me have this happiness that I found. And he walks out on her and she looked really upset. So you could clearly tell that she cared for him. And I'm starting to wonder, is like, did she have to leave him because she's working with Tucker? What's going on that would make her have to leave him? So we'll see, guys. So then we see Billy, Devon, and Lily. And Billy says, I have some disturbing news. And they said, what? And he says, I looked in on Tucker McCall, and he's been selling up some of his assets, and he's freed up cash. And he said with the IPO, he could use that to buy up shares. And so they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to really look into this. And around this time, Nate comes in, And Devon says, Nate, I'm surprised you're not here with Audra, and because you guys been hanging out so much. And Nate is like, what is that's supposed to mean? We're just workers, and it's not my fault I keep running into her in different places. But Devon says, what I feel like you should do is take your free time, cut back on some of these hours, and take that time and work on your relationship with Elena. Just speaking as your cousin, he says, I hear you, and Elena and we're going to continue to work on our relationship. We're going to be fine. So then Audra appears, and they tell her about Tucker McCall and how they are concerned. And Nate suggests, well, why don't we move the IPO up? And so we can go ahead and sell and catch Tucker by surprise. And Audra was like, okay, I'll look into it. But we all know Audra is working for Tucker, so this is not going to catch him by surprise. And so they say, because they said we have someone who's been looking to buy the company, and Nate shifts in his seat because he thinks he's been caught. But when they say it's Tucker McCall, you can tell that he visibly relaxes. But that's it with them, y'all. They're just pretty much gonna move this up because they're worried about Tucker. So then we see Nate contacts Victoria, and he lets her know what's going on, how he suggested they move the IPO up, so she needs to be prepared to move at any time, and how Tucker McCall has is clearing out assets to look, and it looks like he's going to try to buy up some shares as well. So then we see Elena hears that part of Nate's conversation, and he was like, how much did you hear? And she said, enough to know who you were talking to. And he says, I don't want to have the same conversation. She said, we're not. She tells him that I know that you think that this is about your family. And she said, I tried to reason with you about don't do this to your family. Don't do this to our relationship. She said, but what if Victoria gets what she wants from you, and then she doesn't want it anymore, doesn't want you in that position anymore, and she discards of you? That's the Newman family. They use you when you're needed, and then when you're no longer needed, they discard. So what would happen to you then? And I was like, I don't think he's thinking about this, because he's giving up over his share, which is crazy to me for a CEO position. Like, who does that? You're giving over a part of your share, like not a part, but all of your shares, just so you can hold a CEO position. And if the company doesn't perform, you're out. Like, it makes no sense. So Elena is trying to appeal to him on that. And so then we see Billy and Lily speak, and she just tells him what's going on with you, because she says, can you take care of the Tucker thing and just make sure everything goes smoothly? And he says, yeah. And I didn't see anything wrong with what Billy said, but Lily just tells him, you have just been going through the motions. You're not really committed to this job. I said, well, ma'am, he wasn't committed to this job a month ago when he was doing the podcast and was happy, but you made him quit the podcast so that he could work for you full time, being the COO. If you felt like this, you should have talked to him then and just let him be over the podcast. But she's talking to him now, and she's just like, you're not fully committed. You're just doing the motions. And he says, Lily, I don't understand what you want from me. I'm giving you everything that you've asked for. And she said, yeah, it's what I want, but not what you want. And he says, okay, I'm going to be honest. I see you, Victoria, Jack, and you're so excited to be CEO of companies and making deals and moves. And I'm just like, there's got to be more to it than that. It doesn't excite him. He had what he was passionate about, and you made him quit, ma'am. I don't understand why you're upset. And so she says, well, we're going to have to figure this out, because she doesn't want him doing something he doesn't want to do. And I guess we'll pick up on that. So then Devon takes Audra to Crimson Light, and because he said they need to speak, and he brings up Nate, that you guys seem to be very close. And she says, is that a problem? We all work together. And he says, no, I'm just observing, making an observation. And she says, well, I know that from what I see between you and your cousin, because it's my job to like look at the whole outlook, it seems like there's an issue. Is there a problem that I need to be aware of? And I said, because she's going to take this right to Tucker. I don't know if Tucker is there to help Devon or hurt Devon. I don't know, but we shall see. But the story is finally starting to become interesting with Tucker being brought into the mix. It was kind of how I wanted it with Diane, and I feel like finally we're seeing this movement with Diane's story that we thought was going to happen at the beginning. But all right, guys, that was the Young and the Restless today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you tomorrow for an all new episode. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.